Yo, what's up guys, how's everyone doing? Hope you're all having a fantastic day. Today we're going to be going through a tutorial on how to use the VPVR indicator. Now this is easily one of my favorite indicators in all of technical analysis. Since I began using it a couple months ago, it's given me a nearly 100% hit rate. It is a very particular indicator in that it can only be used at certain times, but when it can be used, it's flawless. It is nearly flawless, right? It's a very powerful indicator. It's something I've been using a lot in streams, in videos, but never actually dedicated a video to because, it has a few catches, and at the beginning, it looks quite daunting, and this is another reason I didn't want to make this video. But then once you actually get to know it, it's quite simple. So there are two opposite sides to it. It's quite scary at the beginning, so how am I going to cover it? And then once you get to the end of it, you're thinking, well, it's so simple, why did I even bother? You'll probably go through both stages in this video. Just bear with me till the end, and we'll go through it. And of course, if you're not already in my free Telegram channel, there is a link in the description, the first link there. Go ahead and click that and join my free Telegram channel. You get my analysis, you get my trades. Super excited for the content coming in there. And let's just get straight to the VPVR indicator. Now, what I'm going to do is go ahead and, well, first of all, how do you get this indicator? That's a good place to start. You type in visible range. I know it's very strange. Type in visible range, click on that, and yes, you've got the VPVR indicator right there. It's going to show up over here. I'm not sure why it's called visible range and then VPVR when it's actually an indicator on your chart. What I've done is, the default, if I go back to default, well, I don't want to do that because it will mess up my chart, but I believe it's something like 14 for row size. I may be completely wrong. For increased precision, so that your bars aren't bloody fat, you'll see, so they're not like this. For more precision, what I have done is sort of reduce the bar size, or rather increase the bar size. I'm not using the correct words here. Right, rather row size to 200, so it's been magnified quite a bit, and this gives us much more precision in trades, and this is the first step to do before you do anything else. Now, second main thing to cover, what do these two colors mean? Nothing, don't need to worry about them. You can use this chart perfectly without knowing what the colors are, so it's not relevant. Right, so how do we use this chart? This indicator. What is it? The kind of strategies for it, a couple nuances. Well, what is this indicator? First of all, VPVR, visible range. It just visualizes how much volume is traded at a set price range. So for example, if we look at this sort of spike on the right here, what we are seeing is that in this range, $8,200 to $8,050, this sort of $150 range, volume spikes up a lot. What does that mean? A lot of volume is traded within this sort of sideways $150 range. That's all it means. It just means more volume is traded here than it's traded between 8,000 and 7,600, for example. That's all it means. Now, this is really important. This is actually very, very useful because what tends to happen in markets is that they default back to levels where there has been lots of volume traded in the past. All right, this happens with pretty much every single market. It will leave one area where volume is being traded quite heavily and then enter the next area where volume is being traded very heavily. This is not going to be a useful indicator when and if we cross all-time highs again, because as you can see, volume significantly tapers off and there's hardly anything to analyze. And if we cross 20,000 again, which many of you will probably say we will, that is going to mean we have no volume history to go off, and so VPVR will become obsolete. But when we're in a trend like this is single-handedly the most powerful indicator I think there is ever. Maybe I'm giving it a bit too much credit, but you'll see why in just a second, why it's so powerful. And, like I said, markets will default back to hitting levels where lots of volume has been traded before. So, for example, I based my VIP trades where I said, I'm going to be going short and selling, or rather, where I said those are potential plays to make. What I said there was that we left an area of high trading volume around 6,800, and we entered the next area of high trading volume, which was about 7,300. So this is where I said VPVR is strong resistance. You guys watching this channel from a couple days and weeks ago will remember that quite clearly, I think. What happened here was we entered an area of high trading volume relative to where we were before, right? So you can see there's a bit of a gap. And so we almost always will cross this gap. That's why in VIP we made 2 or 3 long signals and got nice profits on every single one of those, right? So we played this long very nicely because we knew there was a gap and most likely prices are going to hit the next area of high trading volume, right? So that was exactly at about 7,300. We topped out at nearly exactly 7,400. So it lined up really, really nicely. And since we had more volume here, it was going to take a lot more power from the bears to drive us higher. So quite clearly, from the bulls. And so quite clearly, with that steam, that wasn't there, right? So if we zoom in and we look at the volume, for example, volume just going down, right? We look at the volume moving average, this orange line, again, volume. It's all about the volume. Like, it's such an amazing indicator. It's so reliable. Well, in the overall trend, that is. What it is telling us is that, yeah, volume did taper off, and when we had a bit of a gap, this gave us a prime opportunity to sort of long it up. And then because the volume wasn't strong, it wasn't giving us any indicators that it was going to stay strong. That tells us it's not going to overcome this area of resistance. So going back to how we can actually use this indicator, I want to look at, pardon all my lines, it's making it a little bit difficult to understand what's going on, but I want to actually put this into practice now and look at our overall trend. Like I said, many of you watching will probably expect Bitcoin to hit all-time highs eventually once again, including myself. And what that is going to mean, if we look at VPVR, we have our volume that's very high with my thick resistance level up here. But after that, volume really tapers off. And so to visualize this, I put in 2 rectangular boxes. The first one showing you all the volume traded within this big, this is the highest volume we have until levels like $3,000. But in this area of very high trading volume, we can see we've been trading in this range for a very long time. Right, so this has made it very strong resistance and support going both ways. But in the previous range, right, where I've outlined it in this rectangle, we're going to be looking at the horizontal length. It is much shorter, right? If I actually get my ruler and show you roughly how long it is, about 107 days. And then do the same thing for the next range, about 225 days. So more than double. What we have is a very clear trend in that case, actually telling us that once we do escape this range, whether it's from the bottom, whether we leave it from the bottom or from the top, we are going to have huge volatility and we're most likely going to hit the next area of resistance. Now, if we go up from the top, there is no resistance. We only have 11,600 where it tapers off. And yeah, above that, it's a straight run to all-time highs. That's why I've been keeping this line only. It's the only line that's been here since about February or something like that. It's a very important level, and that's what I'm keeping my eyes on, for potentially reaching all-time highs again. But sort of on the other side of that, what we have is volume actually tapering off right here, where volume goes to non-existent levels once we hit the $5,000 range. And what that's telling me very clearly is that because the prices haven't been trading around this area for very long, if we do dip into this range of having lower volume, like I said, markets are always going to default back to where there's a lot of volume being traded because there's a lot of price history there. Traders will remember that range. There are a million reasons for why that would happen and why it does happen. What that would tell me is that yes, if we do drop from this range, we're going to hit the next level, roughly 4,300. And this is extremely powerful. This is why I think it's my favorite indicator, because it gives you very, very safe trading ranges to make profits off, where you can also use high leverage. So say we do actually break down from this zone. We have a massive gap in the market. We have a massive gap in VPVR. We have a huge amount of opportunities here where we can use leverage numbers like 25x to... And it's a huge number, right? Conventional traders have messaged me and told me I'm crazy for it. My responses have always been, well, you haven't seen how we trade. But I understand, right? From an outsider's point of view, using something like 25x leverage is crazy. But of course, if you can use it safely and VPVR enables you to do so, it becomes... It's like a cheat sheet, like I always say. Ichimoku Cloud's EMAs VPVRs, right? This is, these are the only things I go over in my videos: VPVR, Ichimoku clouds, and EMA ribbons. And the reason for that is the hit rate is amazing, and when you can use them, I mean, it lays out amazing. For real, if you want a short right here, even we are below our volume bars on the VPVR. We are below the peaks. Yeah, definitely. Going short here, potentially 2-3x leverage, something like that, down to the next level, is going to give you a huge profit and with basically no risk. It does work really, really well. Now, the nuances, like I said, there are a few reasons why you can't use this indicator quite often. And I know that after this video, there are going to be a lot of people throwing this indicator on their charts and trying to use it. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, one of the big reasons that many people don't use this indicator is that it's unfortunately a paid indicator. I should have probably said that at the beginning. It is a paid indicator on TradingView. It's unfortunate that's the case, but what I have done is left a link in the description where you can get a TradingView subscription for free. You can get the paid version for free for about 30 days, I believe. As a trader, it makes sense to get the paid subscription. I mean, it's about $50. Most people can scrape together $50, work a part-time job or whatever. There are no excuses for not being able to get $50 together. And actually, my bad, that's the most expensive plan, so they have much cheaper plans as well. VPVR is available for the paid members, and that is the way to get it. So there's a referral link in the description, helps me out as well. That's how you actually get access to this indicator. Now, as for the nuance with this, well, you can't use this indicator too often. Right, you can only use it once we enter and leave big gaps in these markets, and then enter sort of the next area of volume, resistance, or support. And very simply, that's because we don't leave these areas very often. That's the reason we get these spikes. That's the reason we get these important trading ranges that allow us to predict the prices so easily when they come. The reason for it is we don't get them very often, so when they do come, they come very big. And so that's why, potentially hitting a range like this, it's just a waiting game to see when we do drop from these support levels, from these volume levels, and also rising above. If you want the safest trades possible, absolutely. These two possible trades, you short it when it goes a little bit lower from here, or you long it when it crosses 8200, based off VPVR and not financial advice. Yeah, it would most likely work out very, very nicely for you. These are the kinds of things to look out for. Now, like I said, because of that, because it's about trading very big ranges, it just doesn't happen very often. And much more so because of my earlier video, which I put out earlier today or yesterday, where I mentioned that I think Bitcoin is going to go sideways. If it is going to go sideways, you just cannot use VPVR. It is a volatility indicator. It tells you about what's going to happen when prices are volatile, not when they're being suppressed, not when they're being put sideways. Of course, it will still be useful on coins like Tron, for example, on these altcoins, because like I said in that video, while Bitcoin is going sideways, these alts continue to drop. So what is this telling us? Well, very clearly, once it drops from about 200 Satoshis, if it does, we're looking at this area. This is where the volume tapers off, and there's nothing until 25 Satoshis. Could you imagine that? A 90% loss from here. Well, it's already been more than a 90% loss, I guess. So, let's actually check that out. So yeah, it's been about 86. I haven't even done this correctly, so maybe a little bit more. To think that a further 10% drop would be another 90% drop from right now is quite terrifying. But yes, it is a possibility. This is where VPVR stays very, very useful. Now, another key thing to note, and it's the reason I said to sort of stick around till the end, is that you cannot use this indicator on shorter time frames. For example, if I were to throw this on now and the chart isn't loading, but for example, if I were to use this right now, we don't have on this chart. The chart only goes back as early as sort of mid-March, mid to late March. And so we don't have enough price history to actually accurately use this indicator. In this case, it still does work to tell us we had a big sort of volume resistance in this area. We had a bit of a gap which could be gamed, and like I said in VIP, we did play these games for nice profits. If you are interested in VIP, join the free Telegram channel with the link in the description, and message me at the bottom of any post. Click on my name and then message me from there. But you know, we can use it in this case because we do in this case have enough price history. But what we actually do want to do is zoom out to get the full picture, because until we do, we can't see, for example, you know, after 8,200 it becomes a very clean ride up, right? So if we zoom in, we definitely cannot tell the same. Actually, in this case we can, but it's not very clear, and it doesn't work very well. So this is going to work on the longer time frames only. On the shorter time frames, you're essentially gambling. It doesn't make sense. Okay, like I said, in these cases, it does work above 8,200, but on the whole, this will not be accurate. And especially if we're looking at trading ranges on these shorter time frames. So for example, within the $6,000 range, absolutely not going to work. Something like 6,500 up to 6,700, which this VPVR indicator is telling us will work, perhaps in the short term, but this is where you become much closer to gambling. This is where it is absolutely not worth using, in my opinion, because if we look at price history, you know, it's been trading within this range quite a lot. So we zoom out and we're seeing that this gap isn't as big as we thought it was before. Continue to zoom out and we actually had trading right here as well. So now this gap has become, well, quite less significant, and so that's why you only want to use it on these larger time frames to get the most accurate picture. And that's another reason why you can't use it for overtrading. Overtrading is an absolute huge killer in this market, in every market. I've read a lot of TA books, and you know, the main thing that always comes up as being toxic and very bad is overtrading, overanalyzing. And I know myself because I've been guilty of doing this a lot. So I know exactly how it goes. These are all things to take note of. With that, though, I have covered everything I wanted to in this VPVR tutorial video. It has been a very long time coming. I'm very sorry for delaying it so much. Like I said, if you do want access to this indicator, there is a link in the description to get it for free for 30 days. And then after that, it's quite a cheap subscription. If you are serious about trading, making this small investment, and perhaps the only investment you do need to make, I think is well worth it. With that though, I'm going to be heading off. I really hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, tick the bell, join the Telegram channel, and with that, I'm out. Peace.